Welcome to this explainer. If you're a managing partner or a law firm owner in South Jersey or Greater Philadelphia, well, you're exactly who I want to talk to today. If you're completely tired of all the conflicting marketing hype out there and you just want a clear, honest answer about your budget, something you can actually defend in a partner meeting, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're throwing out the guesswork. We are going to replace those tired industry myths with the unflinching mathematical reality of acquiring cases right here in your specific market.
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 6 key areas: the law firm budget contradiction, the Philadelphia market premium, practice area unit economics, the backward budget method, the acquisition trap, and finally, we'll wrap up with AI efficiency.
Okay, Section 1, the law firm budget contradiction. Resolving the 1% versus 16.5% myth. You have likely heard completely contradictory advice on what your firm should actually be spending, so let's clear up that confusion right out of the gate.
Just look at the sheer size of this gap. On one hand, you have Thomson Reuters data stating that average firms spend just 1 to 2% of their revenue on marketing. But then, Hinge research found that high-growth firms invest a massive 16.5%. So what's the truth? Well, both of these highly credible studies are entirely accurate, but honestly, they're both incredibly misleading without the proper context.
And really, this brilliantly illustrates that the gap isn't a contradiction at all. It's a definition problem. The reason you get wildly different numbers from identical firms comes down to who was surveyed and what costs were actually counted in the first place. Are we talking about gross revenue or net? Does the budget strictly cover external ad spend that literally leaves your bank account? Or does it include fully loaded costs like the internal salaries of your marketing staff? See, Thomson Reuters excluded those salaries, while the double-digit recommendations almost always include them. To fix this for your firm, you absolutely must define exactly what your number includes before you ever try comparing it to a national benchmark.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Philadelphia market premium, why national averages fail here. Now that we've got our definition straight, we need to talk about geography. Specifically, why relying on national averages will absolutely get you killed in this market.
Let's consider standard working budget ranges based on your growth goals. If you're an established referral-driven firm, you can usually maintain on 2 to 5%. Want steady, predictable growth? You're looking at 7 to 10%. If you're in aggressive growth mode, you'll need 10 to 15%. And if you're a brand new firm or just entering a new market, you've got to be prepared to spend 15 to 20%, maybe even more, just to buy the visibility you haven't earned organically yet. But here's the crucial takeaway. While these are standard ranges nationally, if you operate in the Philly or South Jersey area, you must assume the absolute high end of every single one of these tiers.
Why the high end? Well, because Philadelphia holds the #1 judicial hellhole ranking nationally. It's an incredibly aggressive, plaintiff-friendly jurisdiction, and that attracts massive advertising dollars. To put that in perspective, trial lawyers spent over $10.9 million on local advertising in this market during just the first half of 2019 alone. National averages just weren't built for a dogfight like this. Think about it. If your competitors are aggressively spending 14% and you're coasting along on 3%, you are quietly losing market share every single day.
All right, Section 3, practice area unit economics, why your ceilings set your budget. Let's shift gears to specific practice areas, because it's not just about where you are, it's about the law you practice. And as you'll see, not all leads are created equal.
Raw cost per lead can completely deceive you. Personal injury demands the absolute highest spend, sure, but it's totally justified because the case values are the highest. Then you look at bankruptcy, which quietly boasts incredible unit economics for paid search. We're talking an average of $82 per lead and a highly efficient 14% conversion rate. But then take criminal defense. On paper, it produces really cheap leads, but historically, it suffers from the worst overall conversion rate. That makes the true cost per signed case way, way higher than that initial cheap click suggests.
And this brings us to a golden rule. Never base your budget on what a competitor in a different practice area is spending. Your maximum allowable acquisition cost is entirely capped by the mathematical ceiling of your specific practice area's case value. A personal injury matter that brings in $30,000 in fees can rationally support a $150 cost per click. A $2,500 uncontested divorce, it simply cannot. Budget from your ceiling always.
Let's move to Section 4, the backward budget method. Math over percentages. This is a foundational shift in how managing partners should actually be planning their spend.
Please, whatever you do, do not start your budget meeting by just picking an arbitrary percentage out of thin air. Start with your revenue target. That's step 1. Set that target. Step 2. Convert that revenue goal into the actual number of signed cases you need based on your average fee. Step 3. Apply your firm's real, proven conversion rate. Step 4. Calculate how many actual leads you need to hit that case count. And finally, step 5. Price those leads by the channels you use, whether that's Google Ads, local services ads, or SEO. Only after doing all that math do you check the final dollar amount against a percentage benchmark, just as a sanity test.
Let me show you exactly why this method is a real game changer. Imagine two firms in the exact same market running the exact same ads and paying an identical $150 per lead. Now, the average law firm converts about 14% of leads into signed clients. But top-performing firms, they hit 40 to 50%. For the firm converting at 14%, their cost per signed case is a staggering $1,071. But for the 40% firm, it's just $375. That is literally a threefold difference in case acquisition cost with zero change in ad spend. Your budget is completely downstream of your firm's ability to convert.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, Intake and the Acquisition Trap, Plugging the Leaks. If your budget relies heavily on just acquiring new traffic without optimizing what happens after the phone actually rings, you are walking into a massive trap.
Recent Gartner data highlights this beautifully. Marketers across the board have bumped up their acquisition and awareness spend by 10%, while simultaneously gutting their loyalty and retention spend by a shocking 29%. They're over-indexing on getting new clients at the expense of nurturing the ones they already have. This creates a vicious churn cycle where you need ever-increasing ad spend just to break even. Look, in a relationship-driven market like Philadelphia, failing to fund client nurture and referral cultivation is a fatal mistake. You absolutely have to budget for both sides of the coin.
And hey, if we're talking about the acquisition side, we have to talk about intake. If your firm is converting below 25% of its leads, I want you to stop buying more traffic right now. Seriously, stop. Go fix your intake process first. The data is incredibly clear here. Firms that respond to inquiries within 5 minutes see their conversion rates spike dramatically. Yet industry data shows that only 28% of law firms actually hit that elite 5-minute response window. Even crazier, 40% of firms don't even answer the phone when a prospect calls. So ask yourself honestly, is your intake airtight? Because pouring more of your hard-earned budget into a broken, leaky funnel is just bad math. You need to fund your intake infrastructure way before you fund more traffic.
Section 6. AI Efficiency and Next Steps. Reclaiming Billable Hours. Let's briefly touch on the structural advantage of AI and how it can literally make every single marketing dollar more effective. Right now, agentic AI tools are saving an average of 240 hours per attorney per year just by handling routine, automatable tasks. That's huge.
By reclaiming that time, attorneys can redirect their focus toward the high-value activities that actually drive retention and referrals. Things like building deep client relationships, establishing real thought leadership, and honing that deep practice expertise.
So let's bring this whole thing together. Law firm budgeting isn't about guessing. It isn't about copying the firm down the street. It's about knowing your ceiling, optimizing your conversion, and doing the hard math. To stop guessing and finally get a defensible, evidence-based strategy for your firm, managing partners in South Jersey and the greater Philadelphia area can claim a free strategy consultation with Digital Marketing Group at thinkdmg.com. There's no pitch deck, there's absolutely no pressure, and you'll get a response within 1 business day. As you review your marketing spend this quarter, I want to leave you with one final vital question. Are you strategically funding your firm's growth based on real unit economics, or are you just blindly feeding Google's bottom line? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.